The starship Aurora glided silently through the blackness of space, its polished silver hull reflecting the distant stars. Inside, the hum of the engines was a constant, gentle vibration beneath the feet of the crew. Among them was Lena Carter, a 16-year-old human prodigy who had become famous in her homeworld for her brilliant mind. Lena was small for her age, with bright eyes that seemed to see things others could not, and hair that fell in a chaotic tangle, giving her an aura of quiet energy. This mission was unlike any she had ever been on. The Human Space Council had sent the Aurora to explore the newly discovered planet Dracoria, a world home to the mysterious Draconics. Reports described them as dragon-like creatures, towering, majestic, and highly intelligent. But the humans were warned. These beings were proud and cunning, and they often mocked other species that tried to interact with them. As Lena and her team prepared to enter Dracoria's orbit, she leaned over the railing of the observation deck. Her eyes scanned the planet below. Vast mountains spiraled into the clouds, rivers shimmered like molten silver, and enormous forests stretched for thousands of miles. The world seemed alive, breathing in a rhythm Lena could almost feel. "Are you ready, Lena?" asked Commander Harlan, a tall, stern man with graying hair. He was the leader of the mission and had seen many worlds, but his tone carried a note of unease when speaking about Dracoria. Lena nodded. "I've read all the reports, sir. I'm ready." Harlan gave her a small smile, though it didn't reach his eyes. "Good. Just remember, they are not like humans. They will judge. They will challenge. And they will mock. Do not let them get to you." Lena's eyes flicked back to the planet. She wasn't afraid. She was curious. The idea that a species could be so alien that their language, thoughts, and even their feelings could be completely different fascinated her. And she had always loved puzzles. When the Aurora entered orbit, the Draconics noticed immediately. From the clouds above, massive forms began to descend. Their scales shimmered in colors Lena had never seen, reflecting light like polished gemstones. Wings wide enough to blot out the sun stretched across the sky. And then came their voices, a chorus of sounds, deep, musical, and strangely hypnotic. It was a language Lena realized instantly, though it sounded like a symphony of growls, whistles, and melodic roars. The Draconics surrounded the human ship, circling with grace and power. One of them, larger than the others and adorned with golden scales that glinted in the sunlight, hovered near the bridge. This was Arendor, a high elder of the Draconics. He regarded the humans with eyes like molten amber, and when he opened his mouth, the sound that came out was both terrifying and fascinating. "Ha! Look at them!" Arendor's voice, though strange to human ears, carried a mocking tone Lena could understand and feeling. The Draconics around him laughed, a sound that shook the air and reverberated through the ship. "Tiny creatures, thinking they can understand dragons!" The humans froze. Some laughed nervously. Commander Harlan stepped forward. "We come in peace," he said firmly, though even he felt the weight of the mocking energy surrounding them. The Draconics did not answer with words humans could understand. Instead, they let out a series of melodic growls and rhythmic clicks. Lena watched closely. There was meaning here, she was certain. It was not random noise. Every gesture, every tone, every movement seemed to communicate emotion and intention. "Do you hear that?" Lena whispered to her colleague, Dr. Mara Chen, a linguist who specialized in alien languages. "It's like their words are music. I think we can understand patterns if we pay close attention." Mira frowned. "Patterns, yes. But even with patterns, this is beyond anything we've studied. They are dragons. Humans can't hope to match them." Lena smiled slightly. "Maybe, but humans have curiosity and logic. That counts for something." The Draconics elder Arendor seemed to sense Lena's gaze. His eyes narrowed. And the air vibrated with a sound that made Lena's chest tighten, not in fear, but in anticipation. The elder spoke again, and this time Lena could make out something in the rhythm, something almost like a challenge. "You, small one, step forward. Speak, if you dare." The humans hesitated. Commander Harlan shook his head. "Don't but Lena's feet were already moving. She stepped toward the bridge window, standing in the center of the room. All eyes were on her, both human and draconics. I will try, she said softly. The draconics laughed again. The sound was cruel and playful, as if they were certain she would fail. Lena felt a strange mix of excitement and focus. Failure did not frighten her. Curiosity did. She wanted to know, more than anything, what lay behind their music-like language. Hours passed. Lena watched, listened, and recorded every sound the draconics made. She noted patterns in their clicks, their roars, the rise and fall of their voices, and the flick of their wings. She began mapping gestures to emotions, noticing that even small changes in tone could mean completely different things. During meals, other humans doubted her. "Why waste your time?" one said. "They'll never accept us," Lena smiled politely. "It's not about acceptance," she said quietly. "It's about understanding. If we can understand them, then they'll have to respect what humans can do." The draconics continued to mock the humans, circling the ship, making loud, rolling sounds that echoed in the corridors. They made fun of Lena's size, her youth, and even her calm focus. "You, small one, cannot hope to learn," they mocked. But Lena did not answer with words. She observed. She listened. And slowly, almost imperceptibly, she began to notice something strange. Behind the mocking tones, there was repetition. Certain sequences repeated when the draconics expressed curiosity, others when they expressed surprise, and still others when they expressed amusement. Lena's mind raced. Patterns, she thought. There are always patterns, and humans are very good at seeing them. That night, while the rest of the crew slept, Lena sat in the observation deck, her recording devices spread around her. She hummed softly, trying to replicate the tones she had heard. The sounds were strange on her lips at first, rough and uneven. But she persisted. Each repetition made her more confident. Slowly, she began to mimic their melodies, not perfectly, but close enough that she felt a connection. "You are determined," a voice said behind her. It was Mira, who had come to check on her. "But even if you can mimic the sounds, will they understand you?" "They will understand me if I capture the patterns," Lena replied. "It's not just the sounds. It's the rhythm, the energy, the emotion. That's the key." Mira shook her head, both worried and impressed. "You really think a human can do this?" Lena smiled, staring out at the draconics circling above. "I don't think, I know. Humans can surprise anyone, even dragons." The next morning, the draconics called a gathering. The humans were to present themselves before the elder. The draconics hovered above the ship, their massive wings casting shadows over the landing platform. Lena could feel their eyes on her, their attention heavy and challenging. Arendor descended slowly, landing with a grace that made the deck tremble slightly. His golden scales glittered in the sunlight. He regarded the humans with the same amusement he had shown before. "You humans, come to learn our ways, but how? You are weak, you are slow, you..." "Small one, especially." Lena took a deep breath and stepped forward. The rest of the crew looked at her in surprise, but she did not waver. "I want to understand you," she said simply. "Not to fight, not to copy, but to learn. I want to hear your language and know what it means." The draconics laughed. It was a sound of disbelief and mockery rolling through the air. Lena felt the vibrations in her chest, but she did not step back. She had spent hours decoding patterns, listening to tones and mimicking sounds. She was ready to begin the first step. Arendor tilted his head, intrigued despite himself. "Very well. Small human. Speak, if you dare." Lena closed her eyes for a moment, remembering all the sounds she had recorded, all the rhythms she had memorized. Then she spoke. Not words, not human words, but tones, clicks, and melodic roars that attempted to match the patterns of the draconics. The room went silent. For a moment, even the mocking laughter paused. Lena could feel the attention of every draconix, heavy and focused on her. She continued, letting the vibrations flow from her lips, letting her mind connect with the patterns she had learned. It was the first small step. And although the Draconics had yet to understand her fully, Lena knew something powerful had begun. Humans could surprise anyone. And Lena, the young genius girl, had already begun to prove it. After her first attempt to speak in the Draconics language, Lena felt a rush of excitement. The elder dragons had paused their mocking, their golden eyes watching her closely. It was not full understanding yet, but Lena could feel that she had captured their attention. Once the assembly ended, Lena returned to her quarters, her mind racing. She knew that the first step had been only a small bridge between humans and the Draconics. If she wanted to truly communicate, she had to go much deeper. She had to decode their language fully, understand the patterns, and feel the emotions behind each sound. The ship's lab became her world. She surrounded herself with recording devices, holographic displays, and notes covering every surface. Symbols, sounds, gestures, and tones filled her data sheets. Lena studied each one, listening over and over to the same sequences. She started to notice connections she had missed before, how a certain click combined with a low hum could mean curiosity, while a high-pitched trill meant warning or anger. "Lena, you need rest," Dr. Mira Chen said one evening, entering the lab with a tray of food. "You've been at this for hours." "I can't stop now," Lena replied without looking up. "Every time I listen, I see something new. There's a pattern, a structure, a logic to their chaos. I just need to find it." Mira watched her for a moment. "You really believe a human mind can understand them fully?" Lena smiled faintly. "I don't believe. I know. Humans always find a way when we are curious enough. The key is observation, patience, and logic." She returned to her recordings, listening to the Draconix's calls from the previous day. She began separating the sounds into groups: clicks, hums, trills, and roars. She assigned temporary symbols to each, noting repetitions, combinations, and sequences. She realized that some sounds changed meaning depending on their order. It was like music, but more complex. Every tone carried emotion, intention, and sometimes even a story. Over the next few days, Lena became obsessed. While the rest of the crew explored the planet's surface, she stayed on the ship, decoding and analyzing. Every pattern she discovered felt like a tiny victory. She could now identify sequences of curiosity, amusement, and even mockery. The Draconics still laughed at the humans, but Lena began to see why. Their mockery followed a predictable rhythm, a sequence of tones repeated every few minutes. One night, as Lena worked under the dim light of the lab, she hummed softly, imitating the complex trills and clicks. Slowly, her voice began matching the Draconics' tones. Not perfectly, but close enough that the vibrations seemed familiar. She realized that their language was not just about sound. It was about resonance, the way each tone affected the listener's emotions. "You're learning fast," a voice said behind her. Lena turned to see Mira, who had stayed to keep her company. "But even if you master the sounds, how will you communicate complex ideas?" Lena looked thoughtful. "I think it's about linking emotion to meaning. Their language is not just words. It's feelings, intentions, and logic all combined. If I can match the tone and the feeling, I can convey concepts. I just need practice." Days turned into nights, and Lena's understanding deepened. She began to experiment with short phrases, combining tones and gestures to match the patterns she had recorded. At first, the attempts were rough. She mispronounced tones, used the wrong rhythm, or missed subtle gestures. But each failure taught her something new. Every mistake was a clue. She started testing her attempts on small holographic projections of Draconics. It was not perfect, but it gave her confidence. Her ability to mimic the sounds improved rapidly. She could now reproduce sequences that conveyed curiosity, surprise, and basic statements. Still, she had not reached full understanding. One morning, while analyzing a sequence of melodic trills, Lena noticed something extraordinary. The trills followed a mathematical pattern, a progression in frequency that repeated in cycles. She realized that the Draconics language combined musical scales with gestures. Each scale represented a type of message, and each gesture clarified the meaning. It's like a code hidden in music, Lena whispered to herself, eyes wide with excitement. And I think I can crack it. She spent the next few hours testing her theory. Using her computer, she mapped the frequencies and gestures, comparing them to emotional patterns she had observed in the Draconics. Slowly, the connections became clear. Curiosity, warning, joy, mockery, and agreement all had distinct patterns, repeated consistently. By the end of the day, Lena had created a preliminary dictionary of Draconics expressions, linking sounds, tones, and gestures to meaning. She could understand short sequences of communication, and more importantly, she could now attempt to respond in a way that might be understood. The next challenge was far greater. Understanding a few sequences was one thing. Constructing full sentences with proper tone, rhythm, and emotion was another. Lena spent hours practicing, repeating phrases until the vibrations matched what she had recorded from the Draconics. Each day, she grew more confident. Each day, the alien sound seemed less alien, but Lena knew she had to be cautious. The Draconics were intelligent, proud, and easily offended. Any mistake could result in mockery, or worse, dismissal. She needed precision, focus, and courage. Finally, after days of practice, Lena felt ready. She could mimic the tones, replicate the gestures, and match the rhythms. But there was one final piece of the puzzle: the emotional resonance. Each sound had to convey feeling accurately, or it would be meaningless. One evening, Lena closed her eyes and imagined the emotions behind each sequence. Curiosity, joy, surprise, caution. She let herself feel them as she produced the sounds. The vibrations resonated through her body. It was exhausting, but exhilarating. For the first time, she felt connected to the alien language in a way that went beyond hearing. She felt it in her very being. "This is it," she whispered. "I can do this." The next day, a new assembly was called. The Draconics hovered above the human ship, curious about the humans' persistence. They still laughed, still mocked, but Lena felt no fear. She stepped forward, her recording device ready, her mind focused. "You, small human. You persist," Arendor said, his voice filled with curiosity. "Why do you continue when all others fail?" Lena took a deep breath. "I want to understand you," she said clearly. "I want to hear your language and know what it means. Not to mock, not to fight, but to learn." The Draconics laughed. A low, rolling laughter that echoed across the platform. But Lena noticed something different. The elder tilted his head, intrigued, as if he had not expected such sincerity. Over the next hour, Lena began to mimic short sequences she had mastered. She clicked, hummed, and trilled, carefully matching the tones and gestures she had observed. Slowly, the laughter from the Draconics softened. Some paused, listening with something like curiosity. Others tilted their heads, as if trying to understand the strange, small human who dared speak their language. For the first time, Lena felt a spark of connection. The Draconics were intelligent, proud, and complex, but they were not impossible to understand. If she could decode their language fully, she could bridge the gap between humans and dragons. The assembly ended with Arendor speaking a long sequence of sounds, one that Lena had not yet decoded. But instead of feeling defeated, she felt excitement. There was so much to learn, so much to discover. And she knew, deep in her heart, that humans were capable of achieving the impossible. Back in her quarters that night, Lena recorded every sequence she had learned, analyzing each one with care. She felt a sense of purpose she had never known. This was more than a challenge. It was an opportunity to show the Draconics that humans were clever, resourceful, and determined. "You're going to stun them," Mira said softly as she entered the lab. "You really are." Lena smiled, but her mind was already elsewhere, analyzing the next sequence, planning the next steps. "Not yet," she said. "I need to learn more. I need to understand their language fully. And when I do, they will not just be surprised. They will respect humans for the first time." And so, Lena continued, day by day, Sequence by sequence, tone by tone, she worked tirelessly, deciphering the Draconics language in secret. Every moment of mockery, every glance of doubt from the Draconics only fueled her determination. She was small, she was human, and yet she was determined to master what others had considered impossible. The stage was set. The young genius human girl was close to decoding the Draconics language fully. Soon, she would be ready to speak, to connect, and to stun the dragons with a human mind that dared to reach beyond fear, mockery, and impossibility. Humans could surprise anyone, and Lena was about to prove it in a way that would echo across the stars. The day had arrived. Lena Carter, the young human genius, stood on the observation deck of the Aurora, her small frame almost swallowed by the vastness of the ship. Outside, the Draconics hovered, their wings slicing through the sky with effortless grace. The dragon's golden eyes gleamed as they observed the humans, a mixture of amusement and curiosity in their gaze. "Lena," Commander Harlan said, his deep voice echoing in the corridor. "Are you sure you're ready for this? Once you speak, there's no turning back." Lena nodded, her mind sharp and focused. "I'm ready, sir. I've studied every tone, every gesture, every vibration. I can do this." The rest of the crew watched her, a mixture of pride, awe, and nervousness on their faces. None of them had ever attempted such a feat. To speak the Draconics language fully was considered impossible. The elder dragons, especially Arendor, had spent centuries dismissing other species as unworthy of true communication. Lena took a deep breath. She could feel the vibrations of the Draconics around her. Their language was alive, a living pulse that resonated through the air, through the ship, even through her own body. She closed her eyes for a moment, centering herself, feeling the rhythm, the energy, the emotion behind each sound. Then she began. At first, the sounds were soft, cautious. Clicks, hums, trills, every note carefully placed, every gesture precise. The Draconics paused. Their mocking laughter, the sound that had greeted humans since arrival, faded as they listened. Lena felt a strange thrill. For the first time, she sensed that they were paying attention, that they were not just hearing her, they were listening. The sequences grew longer, more complex. Lena combined tones with gestures, matching the flow of Draconics communication perfectly. Her small hands moved in precise motions, her voice resonated with the correct frequencies, and her mind translated human concepts into the emotional patterns of the dragon's language. The Draconics exchanged glances. Their laughter had vanished completely, replaced with curiosity, amazement, and something new, respect. "You, small one, you understand," Arendor said, his voice breaking the silence. The words were imperfect, a mixture of hesitation and awe. "You speak," Lena smiled, continuing her sequence. She now attempted to convey a simple human concept, one that no Draconics had ever heard: empathy. She spoke of understanding others' emotions, of connecting through shared feeling. The tones rose and fell, each note carrying both meaning and emotion. The gestures complemented the sounds perfectly, a dance of language and feeling. The elder dragons stopped moving. Their wings hung still, their eyes wide. For centuries, they had never encountered another being capable of not only mimicking their language but expressing deep understanding. Lena's words carried human emotion, something they could recognize but had never fully experienced in communication before. "You, small human, you think, feel." Arendor's words faltered. The Draconics around him murmured, sounds of confusion, surprise, and wonder. Lena could feel the shift. Their entire perception of humans was changing in real time. The rest of the human crew watched in stunned silence. Some whispered among themselves, realizing that Lena had achieved something incredible. Others could hardly breathe, unable to believe their young human companion was performing what had seemed impossible. Lena's confidence grew. She had mastered the rhythm, the tone, and the gestures. Now she was conveying complex ideas: cooperation, curiosity, creativity, and the uniquely human gift of problem-solving. She spoke of exploration, of discovery, and of the importance of learning from one another. Each phrase was precise, each sound carefully crafted to match the Draconics language's natural flow. The Draconics were silent. The mockery, the arrogance, and the pride that had greeted the humans disappeared entirely. Instead, there was a quiet, intense focus. They listened, absorbed, and for the first time, truly considered the humans before them. You, humans. Capable, one dragon said, its voice low and reverent. Thought, impossible. Yet you, Lena continued, introducing subtle humor in her sequences, a way to bridge the emotional gap between humans and dragons. The humor was light, clever, and respectful. The Draconics responded with a mixture of laughter and curiosity. It was a sound of understanding, not mockery. Arendor approached closer, his massive wings casting a shadow over the deck. He studied Lena intently. You, small one, you see patterns, understand, emotions, logic, combination, rare. His voice faltered under the weight of amazement. We underestimated humans. Lena smiled, her heart racing. She had expected surprise, yes, but not this level of acknowledgement. The Draconics were beginning to respect humans not because of size or strength, but because of ingenuity, intelligence, and perseverance. You show courage, Arendor continued. We honor your understanding, your determination. The other dragons echoed similar sentiments, their tones resonating across the deck. The entire group was now engaged in a form of dialogue Lena had never imagined. She realized that she was not only speaking their language, she was participating in a real conversation, one that transcended species and expectations. The human crew watched in awe as Lena continued. She introduced concepts of teamwork, mutual respect, and collaboration. Her sequences became longer, more intricate, yet the dragons followed, responding with appropriate tones, gestures, and movements. It was a conversation unlike any other, a meeting of minds across worlds. You, small human, wisdom, beyond your years, Arendor said finally. You inspire change in us. For a moment, Lena paused. She allowed the silence to settle, feeling the resonance of her words and the dragon's responses. She realized that this was a turning point, not just for her, but for all humans. The Draconics had gone from mockery to admiration in a matter of hours, all because a small human girl refused to be intimidated and chose to understand. Commander Harlan approached cautiously. Lena, that was extraordinary. They actually listened. Lena nodded, still speaking in Draconics tones. Yes, sir. They're beginning to see that humans are clever, adaptable, and capable of more than they imagined. They respect logic, determination, and curiosity. And once they see that, everything changes. Arendor hovered above the deck, golden scales glinting in the light. We underestimated humans. We judged by size, by youth, by appearance. Wrong. Very wrong. Lena's heart swelled. She had bridged a gap that had seemed unbridgeable. Humans and Draconics were now communicating on a level neither species had anticipated. And she had done it. Not with strength, not with weapons, but with understanding, patience, and intellect. Over the next few hours, Lena led a full dialogue with the dragons. She conveyed human history, culture, and values in simplified concepts that the Draconics could grasp. They responded with questions, expressing surprise at human ingenuity and creativity. The dialogue grew richer with each sequence. You, humans, persistent, inventive, curious, brave, small, yet mighty, Arendor finally said, his tone a mixture of awe and admiration. You teach us humility and respect. We honor you. The human crew erupted in quiet celebration. They had seen humans underestimated, mocked, and dismissed, yet Lena had turned the situation completely. Their young companion had demonstrated that intelligence, patience, and understanding were forces far more powerful than ridicule or prejudice. Lena paused, her chest heaving slightly from the intensity of the interaction. She looked at the Draconics, and then at her own crew. "This is just the beginning," she said softly. "Humans can surprise anyone, and we will continue to learn, explore, and grow. Not because we are the strongest, but because we refuse to give up." The elder dragon Arendor inclined his massive head. "We will watch humans carefully now. Respect, earned, small one, remarkable." For the first time, Lena felt the full weight of what she had accomplished. She had done more than mimic sounds. She had conveyed meaning, emotion, and understanding. She had shown that humans, even small and young, could achieve the impossible. The Draconics began to disperse, their wings slicing through the sky with a grace Lena had come to admire. But their voices lingered in the air, melodic and filled with new respect. Lena knew this was only the start. The dragons would never forget this day, and humans had proven that their minds, creativity, and determination were worthy of acknowledgement across galaxies. That night, as Lena recorded the day's events and analyzed her sequences, she felt a quiet satisfaction. She had faced mockery, doubt, and impossible odds, and she had succeeded. Humans could indeed astonish any being, no matter how powerful or ancient. And Lena Carter, the young genius girl, had done it alone, with her mind, her courage, and her unwavering belief in the human spirit. The Draconics would never see humans the same way again. The sun rose over Dracoria, casting golden light over the vast mountains and shimmering rivers. The planet seemed to hum with life, but the air felt different now. There was a new energy, a sense of respect and curiosity, as if the world itself had noticed a change. The Draconics, once dismissive and mocking of humans, had altered their perception. Lena Carter stood on the observation deck of the Aurora, her small figure silhouetted against the sky. She had spent days interacting with the dragons, speaking in their language, bridging gaps, and demonstrating human ingenuity. Each moment had been exhausting, yet thrilling. Every sequence, every tone she had learned or discovered was now a tool to connect two very different species. "Lena," Commander Harlan said, approaching her with a rare smile, "you've done something incredible. The Draconics. They actually listen to humans now. They respect us, and it's because of you." Lena shook her head. "Not just me, sir. Humans are curious, determined, and creative. I just showed them what we can do. Now it's up to all of us to build on that." Harlan nodded. "Still, your work has opened doors that no one thought possible. Other human teams are going to study your methods for decades." As the day progressed, a large assembly was called by the Draconics elders. Lena, along with the human crew, approached the designated platform. The dragons hovered in the air, their massive wings casting shadows over the humans. The mood was different from the first encounters. There was no mocking, no laughter. Instead, a respectful curiosity filled the space. "You small human. Remarkable." Arendor's golden scales glittered in the sunlight as he addressed Lena in the melodic tones of his species. "You proved humans, clever, capable, worthy of dialogue, worthy of respect." Lena bowed slightly, responding in their language. "Thank you, Arendor. Humans seek to learn, to understand, and to share knowledge. We are ready to work together, to explore ideas, and to build understanding between our species." A murmur ran through the assembly of dragons. They communicated with clicks, hums, and trills, a language Lena could now interpret in real time. Their expressions conveyed admiration, and even something she hadn't expected, anticipation for collaboration. The Draconics had begun to see humans not as weak or small, but as creative, persistent, and intelligent. Lena's ability to communicate had shattered old prejudices, and her demonstration of skill, patience, and courage had impressed even the most skeptical elders. For the next several hours, Lena led a discussion with the Draconics in their own language. She conveyed human concepts such as mathematics, science, and problem-solving strategies, explaining them in ways the dragons could understand. She listened to their responses carefully, interpreting patterns, gestures, and tones to understand their thoughts on these new ideas. The dragons responded with curiosity and interest. They asked questions, sometimes complex ones, about human inventions, strategies, and ways of thinking. Lena answered carefully, matching tone and emotion to their language, showing respect while explaining complex ideas simply and clearly. One dragon elder, larger and covered in deep emerald scales, asked, "You, humans, solve problems with tools, ideas, not strength? Why?" Lena smiled. "We use our minds. Our curiosity drives us. Our creativity allows us to solve problems without relying only on physical strength. We can adapt, learn, and collaborate to overcome challenges. That is our greatest strength." The dragon paused, its golden eyes reflecting thought. Interesting. Humans. Clever. Persistent. Small. Yet powerful. Even Arendor seemed impressed. "You, small one. You, show. Humans. Capable. Intelligence. Patience. Courage. We learn from you." The human crew watched in awe. Lena had done more than communicate. She had established a bridge of understanding. She had demonstrated the potential of human intelligence and shown the value of patience, curiosity, and ingenuity. After the discussion, the Draconics elders gathered together. They seemed to deliberate quietly, exchanging tones and gestures Lena could now understand. Finally, Arendor turned to the humans. "We invite humans to join exploration, research, cooperation. We see value in collaboration." His voice carried a tone of respect that Lena had never heard before. "You, small human, led us to see truth, humans, capable, worthy of trust." The human team erupted in quiet applause, their eyes shining with pride. Commander Harlan clapped Lena on the shoulder. "You did it, Lena. You've changed everything." Lena felt a surge of happiness, but she knew this was just the beginning. "This is only the first step," she said. "We need to continue learning, sharing, and understanding. Respect and collaboration don't come from words alone, they come from action." Over the following weeks, Lena worked closely with the Draconics. Together, they explored new technologies, shared strategies for problem-solving, and learned about each other's worlds. The dragons showed humans the power of resonance-based communication, the art of harnessing natural energies, and the importance of patience in understanding complex systems. Humans shared science, engineering, and the ability to think creatively in unexpected ways. The collaboration was inspiring. Humans learned to see patterns in nature they had never noticed before. The Draconics began to respect not only human intelligence but human creativity and ingenuity. Through Lena's efforts, a foundation of trust and mutual admiration was built. During this time, Lena also inspired the human crew. Young researchers and explorers saw what could be achieved through persistence, intelligence, and courage. They realized that even in a galaxy filled with powerful ancient beings, humans had a unique advantage: the ability to think differently, to adapt, and to innovate. One evening, Lena stood on the observation deck again, watching the dragons fly above the planet. Their massive wings created gusts of wind, but there was a calm in the air, a harmony between humans and dragons that had never existed before. Mira joined her, smiling. "It's amazing, isn't it? You've done something no one else could. You've not only learned their language, you've changed the way they see humans." Lena nodded. "It's amazing. And it's only the beginning. There are so many worlds out there, so many species to meet, and so many things to learn. Humans have a place in the galaxy, and I want to make sure we use our minds and hearts to build understanding, not conflict." Arendor descended, landing beside the humans. Small human. You. Extraordinary. Humans. Capable. Worthy. We honor your courage, your wisdom. Lena smiled and replied in their language, her voice carrying the respect and sincerity she had practiced for weeks. Thank you, Arendor. We are honored to work with you. Together we can explore, learn, and grow. Humans are small, yes, but our minds and hearts are limitless. The dragon paused, seeming to consider her words carefully. Then, slowly, he inclined his head in agreement. The gesture was one of respect and acknowledgement, and Lena felt a warmth spread through her chest. Word of Lena's achievement spread across Dracoria and back to human space. Humans everywhere began to admire her courage, intelligence, and determination. Children were inspired to study, explore, and dream. Scientists and explorers saw that patience, curiosity, and intellect could overcome even the most daunting challenges. The story of the young genius who had bridged the gap between humans and dragons became legendary. Humans were no longer dismissed as weak or small. Across galaxies, they were seen as capable, inventive, and courageous. Beings who could overcome mockery and prejudice with determination, intelligence, and empathy. Lena continued her work, leading efforts to deepen understanding between species. She organized workshops, led explorations, and shared her methods for decoding alien languages and cultures. Her work inspired new generations of humans to reach beyond fear and doubt, to embrace curiosity and problem-solving as tools of connection. One night, as Lena rested on the observation deck, she looked up at the stars. The galaxy was vast, full of mysteries and challenges, but also full of potential. Humans had shown they could surprise anyone, even the most ancient and proud species. And Lena knew that with determination, intelligence, and courage, humans could achieve wonders beyond imagination. Humans are capable of anything, she whispered to herself. All we need is curiosity, patience, and the courage to try. The draconics hovered nearby, their massive wings casting gentle shadows. Their eyes reflected trust and respect. For the first time, two very different species had truly understood one another. And it was the brilliance and determination of a single human girl that had made it possible. As the stars shone above, Lena smiled, knowing that this was only the beginning. The galaxy was vast, full of new challenges and discoveries. But humanity, small yet clever, was ready. The story of the young genius girl who decoded and spoke the dragon language would be remembered forever, a shining example of human potential, creativity, and perseverance. And so, humanity's journey among the stars continued, stronger, wiser, and more respected than ever before.